How will civilization collapse? Artificial intelligence analysis. The collapse of civilization can occur through various factors and scenarios. One possible way civilization could collapse is through a global ecological catastrophe. If humanity fails to address issues such as climate change, deforestation, and resource depletion, the planet's ecosystems could reach a tipping point, leading to widespread environmental degradation, loss of biodiversity, and disruption of vital resources. This could trigger a chain reaction, affecting agriculture, water supplies, and ultimately leading to societal collapse. Additionally, social and political unrest can contribute to the downfall of civilization. If conflicts escalate and diplomatic resolutions fail, global tensions may escalate into large-scale wars, potentially involving weapons of mass destruction. Such conflicts could result in significant loss of life, infrastructure destruction, and the breakdown of social order, leading to a collapse of the existing systems. Environmental catastrophes. Extreme climate events, such as superstorms, prolonged droughts, rising sea levels, or major natural disasters, could disrupt ecosystems, devastate agriculture, and lead to resource scarcity, triggering societal collapse. Climate change and extreme weather events. Rising global temperatures. Over the past century, the average global temperature has risen by approximately 1.1 degrees Celsius, 1.98 degrees Fahrenheit, due to human activities, primarily the burning of fossil fuels, increased frequency and intensity of extreme weather events. Scientific studies indicate a rising trend in heat waves, hurricanes, droughts, and heavy precipitation events worldwide. For instance, the frequency of Category 4 and 5 hurricanes has increased over the past few decades. Historical reference. The impacts of Hurricane Katrina in 2005, which devastated New Orleans and caused widespread destruction and loss of life, serve as a poignant example of the destructive potential of extreme weather events. Sea level rise and coastal flooding. Melting glaciers and ice sheets. Global warming has accelerated the melting of glaciers and ice sheets, contributing to rising sea levels. Since 1880, global sea levels have risen by approximately 20 centimeters, 7.9 inches. Vulnerable coastal regions. More than 600 million people live in low-lying coastal areas, making them highly vulnerable to sea level rise and coastal flooding. Historical reference. The Netherlands' ongoing battle against rising sea levels and their extensive system of dikes, dams, and flood barriers provides a remarkable example of the long-standing efforts to protect coastal areas. Biodiversity loss and ecosystem collapse. Extinction rates. Scientists estimate that the current rate of species extinction is between 1,000 and 10,000 times higher than the natural background rate, primarily due to habitat destruction, pollution, and climate change. Ecosystem services at risk. Biodiversity loss disrupts ecosystem functions, including pollination, water filtration, and nutrient cycling, which are crucial for human well-being and food production. Historical reference. The collapse of the Aral Sea in Central Asia, caused by excessive water diversion for irrigation, serves as a stark reminder of the devastating consequences of ecosystem collapse on local communities and economies, deforestation and loss of forest ecosystems. Accelerated deforestation rates. Approximately 18 million acres of forests are lost each year, primarily due to agricultural expansion, logging, and infrastructure development. Carbon emissions. Deforestation is a significant contributor to greenhouse gas emissions, accounting for about 15% of global annual emissions. Historical reference. The deforestation of the Amazon rainforest in Brazil, which continues to be a critical issue, showcases the profound impact of unsustainable land use practices on the world's largest tropical rainforest. Resource scarcity and depletion. Water scarcity. Currently, 2.2 billion people lack access to safe drinking water, and by 2050, nearly half of the world's population could face water scarcity due to overconsumption and pollution. Declining fish stocks. Approximately 90% of global fish stocks are fully exploited, overexploited, or depleted due to overfishing and destructive fishing practices. Historical reference. The Dust Bowl in the 1930s, a severe drought combined with poor land management practices in the United States, resulted in widespread soil erosion, crop failures, and massive dust storms, leading to significant ecological and economic damage. Resource depletion. Exhaustion of critical resources such as fossil fuels, fresh water, or rare earth minerals could disrupt essential industries and infrastructure, leading to economic collapse and social unrest. Fossil fuels. Oil depletion. The world's proven oil reserves are estimated to last for around 50-60 years at current consumption rates. However, it's important to note that new oil discoveries and technological advancements in extraction techniques can influence this estimate. Historical reference. The 1973 oil crisis, triggered by OPEC's oil embargo, led to widespread fuel shortages, price increases, and economic disruption, highlighting the vulnerability of societies dependent on fossil fuels. Freshwater. Water scarcity. Currently, around 2.2 billion people lack access to safely managed drinking water, and by 2050, it is projected that nearly half of the world's population could face water scarcity. Groundwater depletion. Many regions heavily rely on groundwater for irrigation and drinking water supplies. Overextraction has led to the depletion of aquifers, resulting in land subsidence and a reduced availability of fresh water. Historical reference. The ongoing water crisis in parts of India, including the depletion of the Indus and Ganges river basins, illustrates the challenges of managing freshwater resources amidst increasing demand and climate variability. Rare earth minerals. Importance in technology. Rare earth minerals are essential components in various modern technologies, including electronics, renewable energy systems, and electric vehicle production. Supply concerns. China currently dominates the global production of rare earth minerals, raising concerns about supply chain vulnerabilities and geopolitical dependencies. Historical reference. In 2010, China restricted its rare earth exports, leading to price spikes and concerns about the availability of these minerals for industries dependent on them. Forests and timber. Deforestation rates. Approximately 18 million acres of forests are lost each year, primarily due to agricultural expansion, logging, and infrastructure development. Ecological impact. Forests provide vital ecosystem services, including carbon sequestration, biodiversity preservation, and watershed protection. Their depletion contributes to climate change, loss of habitat, and disruptions to local communities. Historical reference. The massive deforestation in the Brazilian Amazon and the subsequent international outcry demonstrate the consequences of uncontrolled logging and unsustainable land use practices. Fish stocks. Overfishing and depletion. About 90% of global fish stocks are fully exploited, overexploited, or depleted due to unsustainable fishing practices, including overcapacity, illegal fishing, and bycatch. Impacts on ecosystems and livelihoods. Depleted fish stocks disrupt marine ecosystems, affect the livelihoods of fishing communities, and can lead to economic instability and food security issues. Historical reference. The collapse of the cod fishery in Newfoundland, Canada, in the early 1990s serves as a prominent example of how overfishing can lead to the devastation of once thriving fishing industries and the need for stringent fisheries management. These examples highlight the critical issue of resource depletion and the importance of sustainable resource management, conservation efforts, and the development of alternative technologies to mitigate the risks associated with resource scarcity. Overpopulation and food crisis. Rapid population growth, coupled with a decline in arable land and freshwater availability, could strain food production, leading to widespread famine, social upheaval, and destabilization. Population growth. Current global population. As of 2021, the estimated global population stands at around 7.9 billion people and continues to increase at a rate of approximately 80 million per year. Projected population growth. By 2050, the global population is expected to reach nearly 10 billion, with the most significant growth occurring in Africa, Asia, and Latin America. Historical reference. The exponential population growth experienced in the past century, known as the population explosion, has placed significant strain on natural resources and agricultural systems. Food production and agricultural challenges. Increasing demand for food. With a growing population, the demand for food is expected to rise by approximately 50-70 by 2050. Agricultural productivity. Meeting future food demands requires sustained increases in agricultural productivity. However, the rate of productivity growth has slowed in recent years. Historical reference. The Green Revolution, which occurred from the 1940s to the 1960s, involved the introduction of high-yielding crop varieties, synthetic fertilizers, and irrigation techniques, resulting in significant increases in global food production. Arable land and soil degradation. Shrinking arable land. The expansion of urban areas, deforestation, and land degradation have led to a reduction in the amount of arable land available for cultivation. Soil degradation. Unsustainable farming practices, including overuse of chemical fertilizers, erosion, and desertification, contribute to soil degradation, reducing its fertility and agricultural productivity. Historical reference. The Dust Bowl in the United States during the 1930s, caused by severe soil erosion and drought, resulted in extensive crop failures, highlighting the vulnerability of agricultural systems to environmental challenges. Water scarcity and irrigation. Growing water demand. Agriculture accounts for approximately 70% of global freshwater withdrawals. As population and food demand increase, water scarcity becomes a significant challenge for irrigation. Sustainable water management. Efficient irrigation systems, water conservation practices, and the development of drought-resistant crops are essential for sustainable agricultural practices. Historical reference. The depletion of the Aral Sea, caused by excessive water diversion for irrigation purposes, resulted in the loss of a significant water source. Ecosystem collapse and severe socioeconomic consequences. Food waste and distribution. Food waste. Approximately 1/3 of the food produced globally is wasted either during production, transportation, or consumption. Unequal distribution. Despite sufficient global food production, unequal distribution, inadequate infrastructure, and economic disparities contribute to food insecurity and malnutrition in many regions. Historical reference. Famines throughout history, such as the Irish potato famine in the mid-19th century or the Bengal famine in the 1940s, illustrate how factors like crop failure, inefficient distribution, and political challenges can lead to severe food crises. Addressing the challenges of overpopulation and food security requires sustainable agricultural practices, investments in research and technology, equitable distribution systems, and efforts to reduce food waste. It's essential to consider these factors to ensure a secure and sustainable food supply for future generations. Global pandemics. The outbreak of highly contagious and virulent diseases with limited treatment options could overwhelm healthcare systems, disrupt supply chains, and cause significant social and economic disruptions, potentially leading to the collapse of societal structures. Global pandemics and disruptions to food systems. disease outbreaks, and supply chains. Pandemics can disrupt the global movement of goods, including food, due to restrictions on trade, transportation, and labor shortages. This disruption can impact the availability and affordability of food, workforce, and labor challenges. Pandemics can lead to labor shortages in the agricultural sector, affecting planting, harvesting, and food processing activities, potentially leading to reduced food production and distribution. Historical reference. The ongoing COVID-19 pandemic has highlighted the vulnerability of food supply chains and the impact of border closures, lockdowns, and disruptions in international trade on food availability and distribution. Food insecurity and malnutrition during pandemics. Economic impacts. Pandemics can lead to economic downturns, job losses, and reduced incomes, exacerbating food insecurity and making it more challenging for vulnerable populations to access sufficient nutritious food. Disruption to aid and assistance programs. During pandemics, resources may be redirected to healthcare and emergency response, diverting attention and funding from critical food assistance programs for those in need. Historical reference. The HIV/AIDS pandemic in sub-Saharan Africa resulted in significant health and socioeconomic impacts, contributing to increased food insecurity and malnutrition, particularly among affected households. Impacts on agricultural production and supply, labor shortages, and reduced productivity. During pandemics, movement restrictions, illness, and fear can lead to reduced labor availability in agriculture, impacting planting, tending, and harvesting of crops, potentially resulting in decreased food production. Disruptions to inputs and farming practices. Pandemics can disrupt the supply of agricultural inputs such as seeds, fertilizers, and pesticides, affecting farming practices and reducing yields. Historical reference. The 2009 Hananone influenza pandemic caused labor shortages and disruptions to agricultural activities, leading to reduced crop harvests and potential food supply issues. Disease transmission from animals to humans. Zoonotic diseases. Some pandemics, like COVID-19, have originated from zoonotic diseases, which are infections transmitted between animals and humans. These diseases can potentially impact livestock populations and affect food production systems. Biosecurity and disease management. Pandemics highlight the importance of robust biosecurity measures in animal agriculture to minimize the risk of disease transmission and protect both animal and human health. Historical reference. The H5N1 avian influenza outbreak in the early 2000s resulted in the culling of millions of poultry, disruption of the poultry industry, and concerns about the transmission of the virus to humans. Addressing the challenges of global pandemics and potential food crises requires strong public health measures, resilient food systems, investments in agricultural infrastructure, and social safety nets to ensure food access for vulnerable populations. Lessons from past pandemics can guide efforts to mitigate the impact on food production, distribution, and overall food security. Nuclear conflict. Escalating tensions between nuclear-armed nations, coupled with the possibility of accidental or intentional use of nuclear weapons, could lead to large-scale destruction, loss of life, and widespread societal collapse. Nuclear conflict, characterized by the use of nuclear weapons in warfare, poses significant risks to civilization. Here are some potential ways in which nuclear conflict could contribute to civilization collapse. Widespread destruction. Nuclear weapons have the capacity to cause unprecedented destruction, with a single detonation capable of devastating entire cities and regions. The immediate impact includes the loss of life, destruction of infrastructure, and contamination of the environment with radioactive fallout. Loss of critical infrastructure. Nuclear explosions can severely damage or destroy vital infrastructure, including communication networks, transportation systems, power grids, and healthcare facilities. The loss of critical infrastructure hampers emergency response efforts, impedes recovery, and disrupts the functioning of society. Environmental catastrophe. Nuclear conflict can lead to long-lasting environmental consequences. Detonations produce radioactive fallout which can contaminate air, soil, and water resources. Contamination of agricultural land and water sources can significantly impact food production, exacerbating food crises and leading to widespread food shortages. Humanitarian crisis. Nuclear conflict would result in an immense humanitarian crisis. The loss of life, injuries, displacement, and the breakdown of societal structures would strain resources and overwhelm existing systems of aid and support. Access to essential services such as healthcare, food, water, and shelter would become severely limited, further exacerbating the suffering of affected populations. Long-term health effects. Exposure to radiation from nuclear explosions can result in acute and long-term health effects, including cancer, genetic mutations, and other radiation-related illnesses. The impact on human health, both immediate and in subsequent generations, can have far-reaching consequences and hinder societal recovery and resilience. It's important to remember that the use of nuclear weapons has been largely avoided due to the catastrophic consequences they entail. International efforts such as non-proliferation treaties and diplomatic negotiations aim to prevent the use of nuclear weapons and maintain global peace. Technological dependency and vulnerability. As societies become increasingly reliant on complex technologies, potential failures, such as widespread power grid outages, cyber attacks, or AI-related disasters, could lead to cascading failures and societal breakdown. Increased reliance on technology. Modern societies have become increasingly dependent on technology in various aspects of life, including communication, transportation, healthcare, energy production, and information management. Technological advancements have brought numerous benefits and efficiencies, enhancing productivity, connectivity, and quality of life. Interconnectedness and fragility. As systems become more interconnected, vulnerabilities arise. A failure or disruption in one critical technology or infrastructure can have cascading effects on other systems, amplifying the impact and potentially leading to widespread disruptions. For example, a cyber attack targeting a power grid could lead to blackouts, affecting transportation systems, communication networks, and essential services. Cybersecurity risks. The increasing reliance on digital systems and connectivity exposes societies to cybersecurity risks. Malicious actors, such as hackers and cybercriminals, can exploit vulnerabilities in software, networks, and devices, potentially leading to data breaches, financial losses, and disruption of critical services. Historical reference. Large-scale cyberattacks, such as the WannaCry ransomware attack in 2017, affected organizations worldwide, including healthcare systems, highlighting the vulnerability of interconnected technology systems. Technological failures and malfunctions. Complex technologies are not immune to failures, malfunctions, or natural disasters. Hardware failures, software glitches, or inadequate maintenance can disrupt essential services and systems. Historical reference. The iTook year 2000 computer bug scare, which required significant remediation efforts, serves as an example of the potential consequences of technological failures if not adequately addressed. Artificial intelligence and automation. The increasing integration of artificial intelligence and automation systems brings efficiency and innovation, but also introduces new risks. Concerns include the potential for unintended consequences, algorithmic biases, job displacement, and loss of human control over critical decision-making processes. Technological arms race and weapons of mass destruction. Rapid technological advancements, including in the military sector, can lead to an arms race and the development of advanced weaponry. The proliferation of weapons of mass destruction, including nuclear, chemical, or biological weapons, poses significant risks to global security and stability. It is essential for societies to recognize and address the vulnerabilities associated with technological dependency. Robust cybersecurity measures, resilience planning, regulatory frameworks, and ongoing monitoring and assessment of emerging technologies are crucial to mitigate risks and ensure a more secure technological landscape. Economic instability. Severe economic crises, characterized by market crashes, hyperinflation, or unsustainable debt burdens, could lead to widespread unemployment, poverty, social unrest, and the collapse of financial systems. Economic instability refers to a state of volatility, uncertainty, and disruption within an economy. It manifests through various factors that impact economic performance and can lead to adverse consequences. Here are some key aspects to consider. Business cycles. Economies experience cycles of expansion and contraction, known as business cycles. These cycles are characterized by alternating periods of growth, expansion, and decline, contraction. Expansions are marked by increased production, rising employment, and higher consumer spending, while contractions entail reduced economic activity, declining employment, and decreased spending. Historical reference. The Great Depression of the 1930s and the 2008 global financial crisis are notable examples of severe economic contractions that led to widespread economic instability worldwide. Financial crises. Financial crises occur when there are disruptions within the financial system, leading to widespread loss of confidence, liquidity problems, and increased risk aversion. Factors contributing to financial crises include speculative bubbles, excessive risk, taking, excessive debt, inadequate regulation, and weak financial institutions. Historical reference. The 2008 global financial crisis, triggered by the collapse of the subprime mortgage market in the United States, resulted in a severe credit crunch, bank failures, and a worldwide economic downturn, unemployment, and income inequality. Economic instability often leads to increased unemployment rates as businesses struggle, reduce their workforce, or shut down entirely. Income inequality can exacerbate economic instability, as a disproportionate concentration of wealth hampers consumer spending, creates social tensions, and reduces overall economic resilience. Historical reference. The Great Depression and the recent COVID-19 pandemic have both resulted in significant spikes in unemployment rates, highlighting the impact of economic instability on job security, inflation and deflation. Inflation occurs when there is a sustained increase in the general price level of goods and services over time, eroding purchasing power. Deflation refers to a sustained decrease in the general price level, leading to reduced consumer spending and economic activity. Maintaining price stability is a key goal of monetary policy to avoid excessive inflation or deflation, as both can disrupt economic stability. Historical reference. The hyperinflation experienced in countries like Zimbabwe in the late 2000s and the deflationary spiral during the Great Depression underscore the challenges associated with managing price stability. External shocks. Economic instability can be triggered by external shocks, such as natural disasters, political instability, trade disruptions, or global economic crises. External shocks can disrupt supply chains, impact international trade, and create uncertainty, leading to economic volatility and instability. Historical reference. The 1973 oil crisis caused by the OPEC oil embargo resulted in significant oil price increases, fuel shortages, and worldwide economic instability. Efforts to mitigate economic instability include robust fiscal and monetary policies, effective regulation and oversight of financial systems, social safety nets, and measures to reduce income inequality. However, addressing economic instability is a complex challenge that requires careful analysis, policy coordination, and adaptive strategies. Political collapse and authoritarianism. The erosion of democratic institutions, coupled with the rise of authoritarian regimes, could lead to oppressive governance, loss of civil liberties, and the suppression of dissent, eventually resulting in societal collapse. Political collapse. Political collapse refers to the breakdown or failure of political systems and institutions within a society. It may occur due to various factors, such as ineffective governance, corruption, social unrest, or the inability to address economic, social, or environmental challenges. Historical reference. The collapse of the Roman Empire, the fall of the Soviet Union, and the Arab Spring uprisings are examples of significant political collapses in different historical contexts. Authoritarianism. Authoritarianism is a form of government characterized by strong central power and limited political freedoms. Authoritarian regimes often concentrate power in the hands of a single leader or ruling elite, curtail civil liberties, suppress dissent, and restrict political participation. Historical reference. Examples of authoritarian regimes include Nazi Germany under Adolf Hitler, the Soviet Union under Joseph Stalin, and present-day authoritarian regimes in various parts of the world. Erosion of democratic institutions. Political collapse can be associated with the erosion of democratic institutions, such as the rule of law, independent judiciary, free press, and transparent governance. Weak institutions, lack of accountability, and corruption can undermine public trust, hinder decision-making processes, and lead to the breakdown of societal order. Historical reference. The erosion of democratic institutions and processes in countries like Venezuela, Hungary, and Turkey has raised concerns about the potential risks to political stability and the well-being of citizens. Suppression of civil liberties and human rights. Authoritarian regimes often restrict civil liberties, suppress freedom of expression, and violate human rights. This can lead to social unrest, protest movements, and a breakdown of social cohesion, contributing to political and societal instability. Historical reference. The widespread human rights abuses and suppression of freedoms under regimes like Saddam Hussein's in Iraq, the apartheid regime in South Africa, and the military junta in Myanmar, Burma, exemplify the consequences of authoritarian rule. Social polarization and conflict. Political collapse and authoritarianism can exacerbate social divisions, polarization, and identity-based conflicts within societies. Divisive ideologies, discrimination, and unequal distribution of resources can fuel social unrest and undermine societal unity. Historical reference. Instances of ethnic or sectarian conflict, such as the Rwandan genocide or the Balkan Wars, demonstrate how political collapse and authoritarianism can contribute to widespread violence and societal breakdown. Addressing the risks associated with political collapse and authoritarianism requires strong institutions, respect for the rule of law, protection of human rights, civic engagement, and inclusive governance. Efforts to promote democratic values, transparency, and accountability can help mitigate the potential for civilization collapse. Escalating social inequality. Persistent and widening wealth gaps, coupled with social injustice and lack of access to basic necessities, could fuel social unrest, protests, and potentially violent revolutions, leading to the collapse of societal structures. Social inequality. Social inequality refers to the unequal distribution of resources, opportunities, and privileges within a society. It can manifest in various forms, including income inequality, wealth disparities, unequal access to education, healthcare, and social services, and systemic discrimination based on factors such as race, gender, or social class. Economic inequality. Economic inequality occurs when there are significant disparities in income and wealth among individuals or groups within a society. High levels of economic inequality can hinder social mobility, limit access to resources and opportunities, and exacerbate social divisions. Historical reference. The Gilded Age in the late 19th century and the present-day wealth gaps observed in many countries highlight the consequences of economic inequality on societal cohesion. Poverty and lack of basic needs. Persistent poverty and the inability to meet basic needs, such as food, clean water, housing, and health care, contribute to social instability and unrest. Inadequate access to essential services and resources can result in social exclusion, increased crime rates, and health disparities. Historical reference. The French Revolution in the 18th century, sparked in part by widespread poverty and inequality, demonstrates how social inequities to social upheaval and the collapse of existing systems. Education and opportunity divide. Unequal access to quality education and limited opportunities for personal and professional growth contribute to social inequity. Limited access to education can perpetuate cycles of poverty and social exclusion, hindering social mobility and economic progress. Historical reference. The civil rights movement in the United States during the 20th century aimed to address racial inequality and promote equal access to education and opportunities for marginalized communities. Social unrest and conflict. Social inequality can lead to social unrest, protests, and potential conflicts as marginalized groups demand justice, equal rights, and improved living conditions. Disparities in power, representation, and resources can create tension and undermine societal stability. Historical reference. The Arab Spring uprisings in the early 2010s, driven in part by socioeconomic grievances and demands for social justice, highlight the potential consequences of social inequality on political and social systems. Addressing social inequality requires policies and actions that promote equal opportunities, reduce wealth gaps, ensure access to quality education and health care, and combat discrimination and systemic biases. Efforts to create inclusive societies, strengthen social safety nets, and promote social cohesion are essential to mitigate the risks associated with social inequality and potential civilization collapse. Technological singularity. The rapid advancement of artificial intelligence and other emerging technologies, if not properly managed or controlled, could lead to unintended consequences. Loss of human control, and potential existential threats to humanity, causing societal collapse. Technological singularity. Technological singularity refers to a hypothetical future point where technological progress accelerates at an unprecedented rate, leading to significant changes in society and potentially surpassing human capabilities. It suggests the emergence of superintelligent machines or the merging of humans with advanced technologies, resulting in a paradigm shift in civilization. Artificial intelligence and automation. AI and automation technologies have the potential to revolutionize various industries, enhance productivity, and improve quality of life. The development of AI, systems capable of autonomous decision-making, raises questions about the implications of machines surpassing human intelligence and control. Historical reference. The rapid advancements in AI and automation witnessed in recent years exemplify the progress toward potentially transformative technologies. Impacts on labor and employment. Technological singularity may disrupt labor markets and employment patterns. The automation of tasks traditionally performed by humans could lead to job displacement and increased economic inequality. The transition to a highly automated society requires careful consideration of retraining programs, income support, and policies to address the social and economic impacts. Historical reference. The Industrial Revolution brought significant changes to labor markets, with the introduction of machinery and automation transforming industries and reshaping employment. Ethical and governance challenges. Technological singularity poses ethical dilemmas and challenges in ensuring responsible development and use of advanced technologies. Questions arise regarding the control, accountability, and potential risks associated with super-intelligent machines and systems that surpass human understanding. Historical reference. The development of nuclear weapons prompted international efforts to establish safeguards, regulations, and arms control agreements to mitigate risks and ensure responsible governance. Potential for civilization collapse. The potential impacts of technological singularity on civilization are uncertain and subject to speculation. It raises concerns about the loss of human control, unintended consequences, and the destabilization of societal systems. Historical reference. As technological advancements outpace our ability to fully comprehend their implications, the potential for disruptive impacts, unintended consequences, and social upheaval increases. Understanding the potential risks and benefits of technological singularity requires ongoing research, interdisciplinary collaboration, ethical considerations, and proactive governance. Responsible development and thoughtful deployment of transformative technologies can help mitigate potential risks and maximize the benefits for humanity. Probability analysis that each of these leads to civilization collapse. Environmental catastrophes, 15%. Resource depletion, 12%. Overpopulation and food crisis, 10%. Global pandemics, 8%. Nuclear conflict, 6%. Technological dependency and vulnerability, 10%. Economic instability, 15%. Political collapse and authoritarianism, 14%. Escalating social inequality, 10%. Technological singularity, 10%. One main factor or multiple factors. Civilization collapse is a complex phenomenon that can be influenced by multiple interconnected factors. It is unlikely that a single factor alone would lead to the collapse of an entire civilization. Rather, it is the combination and interaction of various factors that can contribute to the destabilization of societies. These factors can vary in their nature, such as environmental, social, economic, political, or technological, and their impact can be mutually reinforcing. For example, a combination of environmental catastrophes, resource depletion, social inequality, and political instability can create a cascade of challenges that contribute to the collapse of a civilization. Each factor can interact with and amplify the effects of the others, creating a downward spiral that becomes increasingly difficult to overcome. Furthermore, the interconnectedness of today's globalized world means that the effects of various factors can transcend national boundaries, impacting multiple societies and regions simultaneously. This interdependency can further exacerbate the risks of civilization collapse, as disruptions in one area can have ripple effects throughout the interconnected system. It is important to approach the study of civilization collapse with a holistic understanding of the multiple factors at play. The likelihood of civilization collapse, primarily due to a single factor, could be assigned a relatively lower percentage, 20%. This is because civilizations are complex systems with multiple interdependencies, and a collapse is often the result of a combination of factors rather than a single factor alone. Conversely, the likelihood of civilization collapse due to multiple factors could be assigned a higher percentage, 70%. The interaction and amplification of multiple factors can create cascading effects that increase the vulnerability and instability of a civilization, making it more prone to collapse.